All right, welcome, Dr. Saroj, and over to you. Please introduce yourself to everybody so that the introduction goes right. And welcome, and all yours. We are here, we are students today. We are learning from you.
Sure. Thank you, Lata, and a warm welcome to everyone from Club Smilee and MEQ Academy. It's a pleasure to be with you all, and I'm grateful for you all to take out your time. So my name is I'm Dr. Saroj Dubey. I'm by profession I'm a gastroenterologist. I'm working in Kailash Hospital and I have a clinic also. So that is about my work. But mindfulness is I'm a long-term mindfulness practitioner. I've been practicing it for decades, and over the last 2 or 3 years I've been taking classes of for mindfulness also, because I found it very useful, especially for my patients with stress and anxiety, and it's a hobby. So I've seen that a lot of transformation can take place. So that is the reason why I started it, and in fact I'm now in the process of writing a book on it also. It will probably, by the end of this year, it should be out. So that is about me. And just once again, I hope my this thing voice is clear to all.
Yeah, everything.
So whenever if there's any problem, you can just tell me.
Sure.
So I think most of you all must be having some idea about mindfulness, because I know I've met so many of you all, and we have had classes, but a lot of people may have heard, maybe hearing it for the first time. So I'll just talk briefly about what mindfulness is. So the definition of mindfulness is being aware purposefully in the present moment as it is, in a non-judgmental way. So it's being aware of the present moment as it is, non-judgmental. So I'll just break it down a bit so that it'll be easier for you to understand exactly what we are talking about by mindfulness. So when I'm talking about being aware, most of you all may be thinking that we are always aware. Like if you are listening to my talk, if I'm talking, if we are doing various activities, it is all done in awareness. So what is so special about being aware? But actually, we'll also realize that most of our day, as well as our present activities, is spent about in an autopilot mode. You may remember the first time you ever drove probably a scooty or a car, where you are aware of each and every movement and coordination of the hand, gear, brake, and all. But now, if you have to just, if you have to drive a car, you'll take it out and automatically you will be able to drive it without even thinking about it. And you'll reach your destination in half an hour and you won't be aware of it. So that is actually what we are doing most of the time. We are behaving in an autopilot mode. It's a kind of a mechanical way. And but while we are being mindful, we are bringing awareness to our daily activities. Whatever we are doing, we are aware of what is happening within ourselves, and as well as what is happening in the surroundings. The second important thing we should realize is, when we become more aware, we also realize that we are somehow treating this moment as an obstacle. We are just using this moment as an obstacle to reach some other moment, some future moment, which we think is more important than this. For example, if suppose you may be listening to the talk, your mind is there, अच्छा ये talk के बाद next समय activity क्या करना है, whatever it is, dinner, some work or whatever. Then when you are doing that activity, what is going to happen next? So you'll see that throughout the day, we use the present moment as a stepping stone. We are not treating it as an end by itself. And in mindfulness, actually, what we are doing is we are using each moment as an end, whether it is the simple act of drinking water. So drinking water is not just we drink water and then we do the next activity, and then it is just being aware of what is happening and using this moment as a end by itself. And also we are accepting the moment as it is. Most of the time, and you'll all realize that we think that this moment, something is lacking in this moment, kuch kami hai, this moment would have been much better अगर ये होता या ऐसे नहीं होता. For example, right now, you know, बहुत गर्मी है, ठीक है, so you know, then we'll be cribbing. If it was winter, we would be saying the same thing, बहुत ठंड है. So you know, but the fact is कि अभी जैसे है वैसा है, and what we can do, but that doesn't mean that we have to just suffer unnecessarily. Whatever action we are taking, चाहे fan है, AC है, you are trying to make yourself cool, but you have to accept the moment as it is. For example, if I have some illness, कुछ you know, sudden diagnosis हो गया, कुछ बीमारी हो गई, so the first thing I do is to accept it. कि okay, this is what the situation is, and then I'll say okay, अगर मुझे ये बीमारी है, if I have this illness, what is the best way I can deal with it? Whatever you know, doctors have to meet or whatever treatment I have to take. But if suppose when I hear the news, immediately I say, अरे नहीं, मुझे ऐसे हो ही नहीं सकता है. I'm so health conscious. I exercise daily. I don't smoke. I don't drink. How can I be ill? So that is actually resisting the moment for what it is. So that is about being accepting the present moment as it is. And the third, another important point is that when we are becoming mindful and aware, we are bringing our minds and body together in harmony. Now, this also may sound very strange to hear, because if our body is over here, then obviously our mind is also over here. So how, what is the need to, you know, bring them both together? But you'll realize by experience that most of the time we are spent lost in our heads, planning, thinking either about the past or the future. Our body is here in the present moment, we are over here, but our minds, it is always somewhere, you know, thinking कि अच्छा अभी क्या करना है, या अगर ऐसे हुआ तो क्या होगा, what will I do if something happens. So we are always planning and plotting. And also I have seen by experience that the more you can say more educated and the more technically oriented we are, the more academically oriented we are, the more we are spending times in our heads. We have lost touch with our bodies. And in mindfulness, we are bringing our minds back to the bodies. We are bringing ourselves home in a way. Because the body is always in the present moment, the breath is always in the present moment. So we have to inhabit ourselves so that we become more in attuned to the present moment. So this is in a way the description about what mindfulness is. So that is about what it is. Then we can come to why do we practice it? You know, mindfulness has become a big source of interest. Now it's all over the world, especially in the West, UK, US, as Lata will be knowing. Emotional intelligence and mindfulness is so much in demand. So why is it? What are the benefits? Why are so many corporates, like you know, right from Google, Apple, LinkedIn, why are they using it so often? So obviously it is not just about, you know, just about relaxation. There has to be something more, and that's why they want to use it and incorporate it into the professional stream. So I'll talk a little about the benefits. One is, of course, before the benefits, the beauty of mindfulness is, one is it's very simple. Anyone can learn it. Like we'll be practicing it, and from tomorrow you can do it on your own. There is no, it's not a religious thing. You know, it's something, it's a, you can use it just to enhance your well-being, or just to increase your focus or productivity. There is nothing about any religious jargon involved. It is totally secular. It can be done at any place. You don't have to need a secluded environment or an isolated environment. Wherever you are, even if you are in the office, at home, I use it very often in the hospital whenever I get some time, and it is very easy to. So that is why it is so, you know, attractive to people. And the benefits, I would say, the first is the gift of the present moment, because when we are aligned to the present moment, we are not resisting it. We are not saying why is things happening the way it is, but we are accepting it, aligning ourselves with it, and going with the flow. Whatever changes have to be made, are made after first accepting it. And we can realize that when we are most in tune with the present moment and aligned to it, we are at our happiest and relaxed state. So that is one gift of mindfulness. The second is, I'll call it space. Now, there's a wonderful saying by Victor Adams that between every stimulus and response, there is a space for us to choose our response. And in that choice lies our freedom and growth. So, actually, most of the times when we are interacting with people, we are often reacting. Say, someone may say something, and immediately we react, whether it is in our family, with our children, with our spouse, with our friends, or professionally with our colleagues. But when we practice mindfulness, there is that space. Someone is saying something, there is space for us to respond. We can, in that space, we can think, is this the right time to respond like this? Can I talk it over later? How can I, respond in such a way that my point is also coming across, and at the same time, I'm not hurting the other person. So that is the most important thing. And also, there is space which develops within ourselves. There is space between our thoughts, between our emotions, and a kind of inner spaciousness, which is very soothing and relaxing, which develops. Then the third is focus. I think all of you all must agree that focus is one of the most important things for any kind. It may be professionally, personally, at home. Unless we are focused, our minds will always be working. So the more focused we are, the more productive we can be, and the more efficient we become. When we practice mindfulness, whether it is with using our breath as an anchor or anything, we become more focused. Our attention becomes more to the present moment. And that is why there are a lot of research studies which have shown that the more people practice mindfulness, the more focused, efficient, and productive their work becomes. Then emotional intelligence, as Lata will be knowing, and MEQ is known for Chetna. Everyone is working on emotional intelligence. It is, in fact, one of the most in demand, I would say, characteristics today. Sometimes it's even ranked higher than intelligence quotient or IQ. And when, as we talked about this space gives us, in fact, Tara Goldman calls it the magic quarter second. So that it's a space of just maybe a quarter of a second, but in that space you can you can choose what is the way you're going to respond to a particular situation. And when for example, I'll tell you, today only in our endoscopy room, that there were 5 or 6 of us, few doctors and my technicians, and the endoscopy technician said something which was kind of he probably at that time, being a technician, he shouldn't have said it at that time in front of everyone. So immediately at that time, I wanted to just kind of react back, but just that that small space was there. I said, he maybe the person didn't realize what you say, so I can kind of criticize or tell him about it later, not now in front of everyone, because that will unnecessarily, it will spoil our relationship, and I need him, he needs me. So why do that? So once people went out, the meeting was over. I just called him and I said, I didn't like the way you spoke out in front of everyone in that way. So he was immediately very apologetic and he said, sorry, sir, and all that. So I'm just saying that the same thing. We discussed the situation in a congenial manner. But if that at that time I just reacted, it would unnecessarily, spoil the whole situation. So when we are more empathetic, we have that space, we are able to listen and respond. So that increases our emotional intelligence. Then creativity, which is again such a attractive thing, whether it is in our work, at home, we all like to be creative. And we are actually all creative in various ways. You don't just have to be a singer or an artist to be creative. the way you make your presentation, or the way you make your food, everything is there. There's creativity involved everywhere. And you may all agree that the most creative times are when we are totally present, we are aware of the surroundings, and we are open to what is happening. So creativity, the more we practice mindfulness, the more creative we become. Then about health, being a doctor, in fact, this is the reason why I started it first on myself, then my patients, and now with so many people, because I would say 70% of our outpatient department patients, there is some stress or anxiety which is the cause of the illness. For I'm a gastroenterologist, so gastrointestinal diseases are a lot related to stress and anxiety. But not only gastro, cardio, neuro, everything, stress and anxiety plays a big part. And there is a lot of research about how mindfulness decreases stress, anxiety, and increases well-being. So it has a lot of benefits in our health and to decrease illness. Then happiness and well-being. It has been shown again, lot of studies about mindfulness and how it increases happiness and well-being. And in fact, there was a landmark study by Harvard, no, in which they did a group of, I think, around 5,000 people or something, and their conclusion was that around 47% of the times, whenever we are doing something, our mind is wandering, and when our mind is wandering, then we are in a state of relatively unhappiness rather than happiness. So the title of that study is "A Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind." And so the conclusion is that the more we are focused, or the more we are present, the less our mind wanders, and the more we are, in the present moment, it brings happiness and benefit. So that is about, the benefits. Even sports, athletics, there's a lot of studies about, how mindfulness helps. So now that we have covered the what and why, we can talk about how do we do it. So it sounds very kind of quite attractive and appealing, but a lot of people may say, oh, I don't have the time and it's very difficult, or I have certain religious preferences, I can't do it, or whatever. So that is what I like to explain. Mindfulness is a very simple practice, and we can do a short practice of 5 or 7 minutes, in which I'll tell you how you can do it. In the practice, what we are doing is that we are using one of our, either the breath or one of our senses, as an anchor to bring us to the present moment. So the simplest way in which I'll be explaining is when we are using our breath to bring us back to the present moment. So, and it's not a breathing technique like pranaya, that is a different thing. We are simply using our normal breathing. So what we have to do is simply be aware of our breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. It is as simple. So what we do is we'll sit. I'll invite you to just watch your breath, and you can watch your breathing either through the breath coming through your nose, or just the movement of your chest up and down, or the bend, whichever is more convenient for you. So we just breathe in and out. Now, the kind of the difficulty, it sounds very simple, and it is very simple also, but the difficulty we often encounter is our thoughts. Now, since we are not used to sitting alone, even for a few minutes, what will happen is I'll ask you to sit and, just observe your breathing. Then, so many thoughts will come, and you'll wonder, what do we have to do with our thoughts? So the thing we have to do is, neither do we suppress it. Yani we don't have to try to stop oh, I am doing mindfulness practice, I have to stop thinking, I shouldn't have thoughts. No. Thoughts will keep on coming. That is the nature of the mind. We don't have to suppress it, but we don't have to follow it also. In the sense कि okay, I am sitting, then thought will come, अरे इसके बाद क्या करना है, कितने देर का होगा, क्या होगा. So you just allow the thought to come in. Don't suppress it. Don't say नहीं ये क्यों आ रहा है, and don't chase it कि okay follow it कि अच्छा नहीं इसके बाद ये करना है, ठीक है, let it come and let it go. So the saying, there's a very nice Zen saying कि leave your front and back door open, let thoughts come in and go, don't serve them tea. उनको चाय पे नहीं बुलाओ, आ रहे हैं, let it come and let it go. You know, most often what happens is कि उनको हम चाय समोसा उसमें बैठा देते हैं and then we engage with them. No need to engage. So we simply sit, simple, relaxed way, wherever you're sitting, either in the sofa or in the ground, wherever, or in the chair. It doesn't matter. No particular posture. You just have to be comfortable. So, and just before the practice, I'll ask you to just, kind of feel your body, and we'll do a short body scan for a few seconds where we'll bring our attention from the head to the toes. So what is happening actually, as I said, we are bringing our mind back to the body. So we are just, being aware of each part of the body, and then we come to the breath. Okay. So I'll be guiding you. And another thing, the most important thing is, again, when we do some practice, when we are starting doing it, then we'll say, Are, kya ho raha? Maybe I'm not doing it correctly. Mujhse nahi ho raha hai, ya something. So just relax. Whatever you are doing will be correct. There is no specific technique. You just have to be relaxed and follow the breathing. So there is no right or wrong way. So don't worry about that. Okay. So we'll do it maybe 5-6 minutes. Be very comfortable wherever you're sitting. You can keep your eyes closed maybe or open, whatever it is. Just take a few seconds to recognize that you are sitting, because very often we spend the whole day without realizing that we are standing, we are sitting, we are doing something. Simply be aware that you are sitting. Feel your body against the chair, your back against the chair, your feet against the ground. Just feel your clothes against your body. Simply being aware and present. You can just kind of mentally remember that it's around 8 o'clock in the evening and you're listening to this seminar. And now we'll just bring our attention to from the top of our head to the toes. Each part, just a few seconds being aware of it. So bring awareness to your forehead, eyes, nose, just being aware of the cheeks, lips, chin, coming down to the neck and shoulders. Be aware of any tightness or contraction in the shoulders. We often carry a lot of burden. So you can just simply relax it, coming down and feeling our hands, the fingers, simply being aware, coming down to the chest, being aware of our belly, abdomen, and now down to the pelvic area, thighs, legs, and coming down to the toes. So we are just bringing awareness to each part of our body. And this can be done anytime whenever you have some a minute or so. And now I invite you to bring your awareness to your breathing, your normal breathing, whether you feel it in your nose or the chest or belly. Just your normal breathing in and out. I will say in and out, but you can time it yourself. Simply being relaxed, breathing out, in, out. There is no agenda, There is nowhere to go. Simply being aware of the present moment. Our breath is an anchor to the present moment. So we are just bringing our awareness to the breath, in, out, in, out, being totally relaxed. Thoughts may come in and go. You don't have to worry about it. Neither do you try to stop the thoughts from coming nor chase. Whenever you are distracted by any thoughts, simply come back again to the breathing. Without any judgment, simply time and again we are coming back to our breath. In, out, in, out. It is very simple. The main idea is to just connect with the present moment without any agenda or any way trying to fix it. Simply being comfortable, using the breath as an anchor, in, out, in. Each time some thought comes and distracts you, or some other something comes up to occupy your mind, there is no problem. You just time and again come back to your breath. And if you want to cross your legs or fold your hands, you are free to do so. Just be aware of whatever you are doing. Sometimes when we are sitting in practice, especially in the beginning, one may also fall asleep or take a nap. It is okay. Again, when you wake up, come back to your breathing. In, out, in, out. Being totally relaxed and aware. It's actually a relaxed awareness. Being aware and yet being totally relaxed. Each time we get distracted, we just remind ourselves to come back to our breath, because the breath is always bringing us to the present. In, out, in, and now if you feel comfortable, you can just maybe rub your hands together and put it over your gently over your face, and gradually then open your eyes. So this was just a taste of the mindfulness practice. So if anyone has any questions about the practice or whatever I have said so far, before I talk about one or two other things, so anyone can, you're free to ask whatever you want to, or you can just give your feedback of what you felt, what was the practice, right? Achha, so Chetna saying it was absolutely relaxing. That's wonderful. And anyone had any problems about, kind of being distracted or having, distracted by thoughts or anything? Actually, this, like today I was guiding you. So, achha, so your voice was so soothing. Thank you, Suha Vijay. And so I was guiding you. Maybe now I'll in fact now just tell you about how you can bring this practice into your daily lives. No? So as we did it just for around maybe 5 or 6 minutes. So you can choose any time of the day. I would say one time you can choose it maybe in the morning if you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or in the evening wherever you feel comfortable. So one time you should fix it every day, whatever time, 5 minutes of this thing. You choose small, you start with small steps. Now, what happens is, what I have seen over the years with people is, some people they say, "Ki, okay, I'll start with 20 minutes practice." Then after 2 days, they do it for 2 days, and then they are saying, "Ki, oh, 20 minutes mil nahi raha, so there's no use and it's not practical and all that." So I say, you just see what time can you get. If you can give 5 minutes, that is enough. 2 minutes also is actually not too bad. 10 minutes would be ideal, I would say. So if you can just dedicate 10 minutes a day, and you just, or 5 minutes, whatever. So you take it, say maybe in the morning, 5 or 10 minutes, you just start with your practice. All you have to do is just follow. Like today I was guiding, maybe when you start tomorrow, then various thoughts will come, or there'll be some questions in your mind. Is this the right way? Am I doing it right? Yesterday it seemed good, today I'm not able to do it. So there is nothing, there's no right or wrong way. You just have to be relaxed. Just remember, we are using the breath as a present moment, just as an anchor. So we just come back to the breath again and be very comfortable wherever you're sitting. So I would say that 5 or 10 minutes, try to do it every day. Of course, once in a while you can just forget. And if you can take 2 or 3 minutes in between the day also, like for example, if suppose before some meeting or before an activity, or when you have got 2 or 3 minutes, all you have to do is just sit, just come back to your breath and your and just be aware of whatever is happening. So this is the way where you can bring it gradually into your day-to-day practice. Start small, practical, whatever time fits your schedule. And because what happens is, consistency is more important than the time. Now if you are able to give 5 minutes daily for, say, once you do it for 10 days, 2 weeks, then you'll see that even those 5 minutes bring a sense of spaciousness and kind of a peace of well-being. And you'll say, want more. For example, I'll tell you, when I started around maybe so many years ago, 10 minutes. Even that 10 minutes was a big time for me, because just at that time I was, I think, doing my residency, and there was a lot of work and a lot of this thing. The kids were small, but I said, okay, let's try. But when I started doing it, after a few weeks, I saw how much of a difference it made in my work, in my personal relationships, everything. So I wanted to do more, but there was no more time. I couldn't fit in any amount of time. So what I thought is, I said the only way is, let me wake up another say 10 minutes earlier, or this thing. So I started. And then especially at that time, I remember I was doing night calls also. So every alternate day there were night calls and all. But what I found was that doing the practice, it and even though I that 10-15 minutes sleeping time I had taken, but it was actually increasing my alertness. And whatever time I was sleeping, I was able to rest better. And that time, because what happens is, mindfulness gives a lot of rest to your body. So what was happening is, that 10-15 minutes which I was decreasing from my sleep, actually it was maybe I was gaining half an hour more. You understand, because it increased the focus and productivity and the efficiency and the well-being. And gradually I started taking out half an hour, 45 minutes. And now I think since last 3 or 4 years, I wake up at around 5 o'clock before the day starts before the day starts and all. And even now I don't have to go so often at night, but calls come invariably at night. There's calls and all, and my work schedule is still quite hectic. But I have seen that this has helped me a lot. So that's why I invite you, take out whatever time is possible, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, stick to it. and then you can, gradually build it up, and you will see that when you feel the benefits coming, but you'll have to give it some time. It's not that, in 2 days you'll say, "Arey, kuch ho nahi raha," or whatever. So give it some time, and then you'll see that it will help a lot in your life. It will increase the quality of your life. And I'll also talk a little about mindfulness in our daily activities. Now, this is about a practice where we can use this practice, say 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But actually, mindfulness is about the way we lead our lives, how open, how present, and how aware we are in our day-to-day activities. That is actually the beauty of mindfulness. Not just that 5 or 10. Suppose if we use it for 10 or even half an hour, we are practicing, and then rest of the day it is, we are just going about in that mechanical, automatic, autopilot mode. Then there's actually no real benefit. So actually, the real beauty of mindfulness is in our day-to-day lives. And right from the time we get up, there are chances and opportunities for us to become more present. Say, just when we are brushing our teeth, so we can just mentally say brushing. That small act again, makes us more aware. Then when we are having a bath, that's a very nice time, although very often we may be in a hurry, but still, even that, the sensation, actually, whenever we are in contact with sensations, it brings us to the present moment. So the sensations of water in our bodies, soap, the rubbing of our hands, all these things, if we are aware, it brings us to the present moment, and we can bring that awareness. So when we are changing, like very often when I'm in the morning, when I have to dress up, I'm in a hurry, so I can't, be very this thing. But even say, if I wear a button or two, being aware, that breaks that cycle. It brings me back into the present moment. So these are small things where we can, become more. For example, you are rushing about, then suddenly you remember, okay, just maybe you're taking one breath in awareness, and mentally you can tell yourself present. That brings you back into the present moment. Then there is what is called the 4Ts of mindfulness, which we can do in whether we are working at home. So 4Ts would be telephone, toilet, transition, and tea. So each gives us opportunities. So the phone is always ringing, either we are checking the phone for notification, email, or whatever. So maybe not every time, but from time to time, we can just simply, whenever we are picking up the phone, we can mentally tell ourselves, present, yeah, be aware. So this again can be, or maybe we can set a reminder every 1 hour, just as the bell may ring, and we can it can bring us back into the present. So it's a reminder, come back to the present. So toilet again, whenever we use the washroom, especially I remember in during COVID times, after seeing every patient, I had to wash my hands. Even now, so that was a signal for me. Every time I wash my hands, again I'm coming back to the present moment, and the feel of water in my hands. So it brings me connected again to the present. So that is about the other T, toilet. Then transition. We are always in transition. Say if I'm going from one room to another, or if I'm going, like in my case, if I'm going from the OPD to the endoscopy room, from the endoscopy room to the ward. So every time we are in transition, you can again come back to the present moment. Like walking mindfully from one room to another, doing, say I'm now in the laptop, now I have to go to the book. That time again, maybe at that time I was busy and kind of lost a bit, but when I finish that task and I'm in transition, I can bring myself back to the present moment. So that is transition. And tea, we are always taking tea or coffee breaks. So maybe again 1 hour I've been so busy and working on the laptop or whatever, then now I take a break. Whenever I'm taking a break, either it is water, just being aware. It takes hardly half a second, you know, or half a minute. And while you're taking your tea, anyway, you're going to take your tea or coffee or whatever juice, just might as well become present, be aware, because mindful eating, that is a different subject altogether. But these things you can incorporate all the time. So when you're walking, be aware of it. Mindful walking, mindful eating, mindful breaks. So if you see throughout the day, right through the day, we have opportunities where we can bring ourselves back to the present moment. Like when, for example, when I in the morning I go to the car to go to a hospital, then just when opening the door, that is the signal. The touch of the handle, again I tell myself mentally opening or present or whatever. Then when you're sitting down, again you come back to present. Getting up. So these are small opportunities where we can bring ourselves back. So this is about it. And maybe I'll to end, I'll just talk about how we can. Okay. So the how we can use mindfulness. Of course, I've talked about how mindfulness benefits us in stress and well-being and productivity. A little more emphasis on stress and anxiety, because that is a big problem for all of us, especially with COVID. There has been a lot of an epidemic of stress and anxiety. You'll remember by your experience that most of our stress and anxiety is due to stressful thoughts, and these stressful thoughts about what will happen if something happens. अगर ऐसे हुआ, कोविड हो गया तो क्या होगा, या बीमार पड़ गए तो क्या होगा, या ये हो गया तो क्या होगा. So most of our anxiety is because of anxious thoughts. Or it can be about planning कि अच्छा tomorrow there is a meeting, अगर ऐसे हुआ क्या हुआ, मीटिंग ठीक नहीं हुआ. So we are always having these anxious thoughts, or this or something about the past कि ऐसे क्यों हुआ या क्या हुआ. So the more we are aligning back to the present moment, the less we are lost in these anxious thoughts. What happens is, whenever there are anxious thoughts about maybe the future or something which is about to happen, then the amygdala, which is our fear and flight and fight response, that gets activated. And when we come back to the present moment, we are actually activating the prefrontal cortex, which is the kind of it brings us back into the present moment and away from that fight and flight response. And then what we can do also, we have to realize that what happens, it's not just about thoughts. Now every thought has some kind of physical sensation in the body. You'll realize, okay, anxiety hui, yeah, some sadness or whatever, upset, anger, there'll be some kind of sensation or reaction in the body which is uncomfortable. And because we are not used to staying in the body, we again go back to our thoughts. So this becomes a cycle. We are not in our thoughts. When there are stressful thoughts, there's some stressful reaction, and we escape again to our thoughts. So when we are coming back to the body and to the present moment, maybe connecting with the breath, we are breaking this cycle. And also we are able to, for example, if we are sitting, just sitting, and some thought or emotion comes, maybe I'm feeling angry or hurt, or some negative thought is there, or emotion. So you can just mentally first be aware of it. So mentally you say, okay, here is sadness or anger or whatever. So you're acknowledging it. Most of the time we are not aware, it is, we become the emotion. Now when you are aware, then you can also label it. Okay, here is anger, here is sadness, rather than you becoming the whole emotion. Like we say, I am angry, or I am sad, or I am upset, then you are actually becoming the emotion. But when you are saying, okay, I'm aware of anger, I'm aware of sadness, so you are mentally, creating that gap. And there's a, phrase, name it to tame it. So when we are able to name our emotions, we are able to bring down we can bring down the reaction. So the intensity comes down. So we are noticing, then we are kind of naming, And in this process, what is happening? That space is created. So rather than the emotion being totally, overwhelming me, what is happening is there is that gap. I can see the emotion. So it means that I am not that emotion. There is that gap. And this gap actually decreases the intensity. And then also, when we are able to stay with our emotions, we see that emotions have a half life. It's not as if they will continuously go throughout the day. It happens very often. Why? That is because we keep on repeating the emotion thoughts. But when we are just observing it, if we are allowing it to stay, then we see that it will come, hang around for some time, and go. In fact, there's one very good study which is called the 90-second rule. This is by a scientist, neuroscientist, Jill Bolt Taylor. So she had a stroke. She's a neuroscientist, and she developed a stroke. And she realized that what happens is, because only her right brain was active, her left brain was paralyzed. So right brain is the kind of more calm and centered part of our brain, while left brain is all the plotting and planning part. She realizes that if we allow an emotion just to come and go, an emotion will come and go in 90 seconds. But what happens is we keep on replaying the story. For example, someone told me something. किसी ने कुछ बोला, so I got angry. Now, if that anger is allowed to come and go, it will come and go in 90 seconds. But what happens is, then again I'll replay that whole story. अरे उसने कैसे बोल दिया, वो बार बार हमेशा पहले भी बोलती है या बोलता है, या ऐसे कैसे कर दिया. Then you go back to something else. पहले भी मेरे साथ ऐसे हुआ, या हमेशा लोग ऐसे कर. So we keep on replaying that same video in our mind, and that's why it becomes a cycle. So when we are just observing, we are allowing, then we see that emotions come and go. We are able to stay with that discomfort. We don't immediately feel ki, I'm getting anger or I'm getting hurt, and kind of you start reacting. You just stay. And this is actually the advantage of mindfulness. You are able to stay with the emotions. When you are able to stay, you'll see that these emotions will come. So this is how mindfulness can play a big part in our anxiety and stress. So first of course, we have to just start practicing it in our daily lives, just using a practice of 5 or 10 minutes a day. Once we are used to sitting and just connecting with the present moment with our breath, then we'll see that when these stressful situations come, these emotions come, how we are able to be present with it and stay. So this is what I would like to just discuss about. If anyone has anything to add or any clarification, they're most welcome.
Thank you
Even
so much,
later.
Dr. Saroj.
Sure, they are most welcome. And I hope it has been it has been useful, or there's some kind of learning to it.
Yeah, definitely. It was very, very informative. And every time I hear you, it gives us more information, and it actually inspires me to practice it more every day. So I hope, we will all restart doing it, because yes, thoughts keep coming and
Whatever,
going.
it will come and go. So the best way is to start small.
Yeah.
Maybe just this should be your kind of this thing. Okay, 5 minutes a day, that is enough. And don't think ye 5 minutes se kya hoga. These 5 minutes are very important. We give that to this thing, because what you're doing is 5 minutes, so you're doing that practice. And because you're doing that practice also, rest of the time, from time to time, like maybe you're holding a glass, then you are again aware, or you are moving from one room to another, you come back to awareness. So these, everything builds up over a period of time. And even afterwards, if anyone has any doubts, you can always ask in the WhatsApp or anything, or mail me, so I can always.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
So
so much.
anyone else having any question, please feel free to ask.